we've said for years as an industry, well, we don't charge for our creative services. Well,
that's dumb.
A little fake laughter to open up episode number 86 of the Promo UPFront Podcast. That's right. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, the quartermaster of Q1 promo sales himself, the one and only Dr. Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the hell are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. I feel like things are starting to roll a little bit. It was a rocky, week or so here at the office. And so things are a little bit better. And so,
right.
And I'm looking forward to the weather starting to break. And so that's always gets me excited. So I'm doing well. How about you, bud?
Doing great. It's been an invigorating week. You and I talk about how much we don't love the word busy because I don't know one person who is not busy. So
right.
It's been a really invigorating week. It's been an active week, which I've enjoyed. A lot of good creativity flowing. And so it's been a really, really good week. But you know what else has been flowing, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
That's the idea that everyone needs to amp up their sales. That's right. Much like the river flowing through the Nile, or the Nile River flowing through Egypt, people need to amp up their sales this year. And there's no better way to do that. No better way to do that, Kirby, than who?
Oh, you got to go Promo Pulse and the amp.
You gots to go Promo Pulse and the amp. That's right. You know what? It's time for you, dear distributor listener, to start leveraging those amazing amp marketing tools from the brilliant mind of one Jason Noakes, who, by the way, has authored this awesome theme song to this podcast, which we love so much. That's right. AMP is a single source email and social media marketing solution for your business. Kirby, you've been a big fan of AMP since before Jason even thought of it. Tell us why you love it so much.
Yeah, I don't know about before he thought of it, but I was on the beta group. And one of the things that I think is that most of us in our industry, we're in a marketing industry, but most of us are salespeople in the marketing industry. We're not marketers. And so I think what happens is we are not consistent in our marketing efforts, and having a service like this allows us to be intentional at the beginning and then set it and forget it, so that email promotion keeps going on. And I think there's just a ton of value to that.
Yeah, I tell you what, you speak so eloquently about it. I'm inclined to just take your word for it, quite frankly.
But you won't.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I'm not sure everybody else will. So let's hear a little testimonial from Christine Marion of Cool Stuff. This is what she wrote, Kirby. Email is a great way to stay connected with all my clients. This week, in less than 4 hours after my AMP campaign was sent, I closed an order and it's already been put into production. In addition, my client has asked for other ideas for their team. I love how AMP blends together email marketing and social media posts for a unified message. Love that message. It's resulting in orders. I mean, that's the goal of marketing. It's got to move an audience to action to actually open up their wallets and write a check or however they pay. So talk about a no-brainer. AMP is a no-brainer. Head over to promopulse.io/AMP. You're not going to be sorry you did. Okay, Kirby, I have the dubious distinction, or the great honor, take your pick, of being the Promo UPFront guy this week. Okay. And I wanted to talk about ASI has released their Q4 and overall 2021 sales figures. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
I'm just going to touch on a couple things. Overall, really, really positive news. Not too surprising, but this kind of surprises. I want to give you a couple quick things here.
Okay, cool.
2021 sales are up almost three quarters of distributors over 2020. So 2019 numbers for the overall industry, according to ASI, $25.8 billion. So that's before pandemic.
Okay.
2020 dropped to 20.7. Pretty good size drop during,
but not as big as predicted, though.
Not as big as predicted.
Yeah.
And then 2021 up back up to 23.2 billion. So quite a nice recovery there.
Right.
So individually, almost every distributor group, as they're segmented, 0 to 250,000 and so on and so forth. This is all according to ASI. And thanks to Michelle Bell for getting this over to us. Their distributors are individually up between 60% and 88% over 2020.
Wow. Yeah.
And, a lot of that's due to client businesses rebounding, which is great. We can sit here and talk about how great those numbers are. I think we all know those are great numbers. Let's move that aside. I think the question I have for both of us is, what should distributors do immediately to keep this momentum going? Right. Yeah. So we can sit here and look back, great rebound. And I've got some ideas. If you want me to go, I will. Again, I get the advantage because I brought the topic.
So I'm going to let you go because of the train. So you go ahead.
Much like Aerosmith saying, the train kept a rolling all night long and all morning in this case. All right, Kirby. So I think there's I picked 4 things distributors should do immediately. Number 1, target local. There's such a huge trend for local business love. And I think using promotional merchandise as a vehicle to get that message out to the community, I don't think there's a better way to market in terms of local businesses. Number 2, think boutique. And do you want to answer that? Think local, or do you want me to go through all 4?
No, go ahead. Sorry, I just love it.
No, think boutique. If you don't have one, partner with a designer. If you don't have a designer, partner with one. The online guys, everybody's worried about, I can't deal with 4imprint and I can't compete against these people. They're so big and blah, 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 blah. No, you can. Don't try to beat the big guys at their own game.
Yeah.
Partner with a designer. And what really, really made me think about this was Jeremy Picker. You partner with a designer, you can start creating marketing magic that live in the hearts and minds of your target audience, because you're designing for specific merchandise. You're not just putting a logo on things. Anyone can do that. You're designing a marketing message that lives on a promotional product and really will move a target audience to action. So you don't have to hire a designer. There are plenty of designers out there that would love to work with you on a project basis.
So number 3, can I jump in on that one real quick?
Okay. Please do.
So, and one of the pushbacks that you'll get on that, because I agree 100%. Obviously, we've gone so far as to hire in-house designers to do that. But budget's always a concern, and people are always worried about that. If maybe the first step is find incredibly creative suppliers who don't just do virtuals, they do real things, and partner with those suppliers extensively, because they'll be able to create within the context of their decoration capabilities. And so that's one of the other things that I think we've had some success with as well. It's just, if you don't have a designer, you don't have a partner designer, partner with really, really creative suppliers who have that designer in-house who can do some amazing virtuals.
That's a great point. And I'm going to add to that.
Okay. How
about distributors? This is going to blow your minds, distributors. Charge for creative services.
Totally.
When was the last time, we always downplay ourselves. We feel like we're the redheaded stepchild of marketing. Partner with a designer, turn that up a notch in terms of the market, percentage that up a little bit and make it a revenue stream, or make 100%. It cost neutral. Doesn't really matter. But now you have something that you can charge for. We've said for years as an industry, well, we don't charge for our creative services. Well,
that's dumb,
because it's dumb. And B, we're not giving clients creativity. We're putting logos on things. Get a designer or work with a supplier that has those design capabilities, but charge for those services. Doesn't have to be a big number. Make it nominal if you want. But the fact that it's there, all of a sudden, I guarantee your clients see value in design work. The second you charge for anything, the value skyrockets.
I literally could not agree more. This is something that's right in you and I's, both of I's pet peeves, is that, the reality of it is we train people how to treat us. I told my kids that for years. Well, the same is true in our professional careers, is we train people whether or not to value us by whether or not we charge. And it goes back to one of my rules. And you and I've talked about this, I know, on a podcast at some point, but I have a rule that it's either full price or it's free. If I care enough about something that I'm willing to throw in my dollars or my time or whatever, I might give it to somebody not for profit or something, but I don't discount. because the problem with that is all of a sudden that they think they're a paying customer and I think I'm doing them a favor, and it's a shitty way to start any foundational relationship. So charge for your services. It is 100%.
Well, and I'll even add a little bit more. Let's say I'm uncomfortable charging. I don't think they're going to pay for it. Okay. Put a line item in your invoice,
like that.
Creative services, spell out what it is, 2 hours of research, this and this, charge $0 for it. But when you put it in there and say, hey, I'm giving this to you, I'm not charging you for it, they'll still see value in it. I would strongly suggest you put dollar figures there in terms of actual money you would get. But if you put $0, they'll still see dollar figure. They'll still see value in it, I should say.
And I would, again, sorry, we're taking this each thing a little bit further. But if you're going to do that, say that we would normally charge $65 an hour for this. We are doing you a favor.
Absolutely.
I would go further and just say, this is what it's worth to you. So you're welcome.
You put the dollar figure of what it would normally cost. Here's creative services research. 2 hours at $65 an hour. Their cost $0. They can see it in black and white. Whatever. All right.
Love it.
Quickly evaluate your brand and how you go to market. When was the last time you really looked at your brand and your target audience and how you're going to market? All right. That's how to keep this momentum going. And then last one, kind of nebulous, but it works. Do something different. I don't care what it is. One thing different. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something for the first time? I love that line. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Maybe it's using a new supplier. Maybe it's updating your marketing. Maybe it's changing your sales approach because you've done the same thing for 10 years. Do something different. Once a quarter, say, I'm going to use different suppliers this quarter. I am going to market a target audience that I've never marketed to before. Do something different.
Yeah. Really, these were great, Bill. And it was fun. I enjoyed sort of the back and forth on that. The one I would add, which is a little counterintuitive, and it's one I used to struggle with a lot, is be willing to be the bearer of bad news.
Absolutely.
Right. And that really has to do with communicate, but be willing to communicate those challenging things. Stock issues have not gone away. Some of them have gotten better, sure, but continue to communicate that. But here's the thing, guys, pricing's going up. It's going up everywhere, and it's going up by the day. So be willing to be in front of that so that when you send that quote, at least that's been my experience. And I, by the way, still need to do more of this, but when clients are getting quotes going, what do you mean this mug now costs $10 instead of $6? Yeah. When you have over and over said, these are things are coming. I've had where the best news is where clients come back to me and say, hey, I know you told me this was coming. But this and this, help me work through it. Well, then it's a different relationship because again, you're an advisor, you're a consultant, you're a partner. And so be willing to be the bearer of bad news.
You become, when you're the bearer of bad news, you immediately in the mind of your client become invested in their success. Yeah. And the old school approach to works, email, good news. When it's bad news, pick up the phone or see them in person because people will unintentionally read tone in an email or in a written communication. Pick up the phone. Again, it's, hey, I got to tell you something. And what it does, it gives them the opportunity to immediately react. And whether they're frustrated or not, or whatever it is, it again creates that bond. Man, great discussion. I love that. All right, Kirby. Let's see. I wonder what you might bring up next.
Yeah, no, I think the big thing that came out this week was Dale Denham's Online 18. I'm not sure how many years that's been going on, but it is each year Dale does an article where he highlights 18 people who have influence online in our industry. As a rule, you know this, I really enjoy lists of any kind, whether it's the Power 50, whether it's, honestly, I'm kind of all in on all of these lists. I actually struggle to describe it because one of my challenges with the Online 18 is I'm not sure what it exactly measures. But I know that you and I are both super honored to be among the folks who were mentioned on it. I find that, when I get to meet people who are on it and I didn't know them, that's always exciting to me. So it came out. I have a few thoughts about the list, less about the list and more about just sort of the overall 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
And so A, I'm going to give you, if you have any thoughts specifically about the list, and then B, in the interest of transparency, Dale had reached out and said, hey, this is coming up. If you guys want to discuss it, I'd love for you to have it. And one of the things that, and I have an opinion about this, he asked us to discuss, or at least is whether or not he should still be doing this in his new role.
Yeah.
And so first, thoughts about the list. Second, I'll jump in and we can discuss about whether or not we think Dale should be doing the list.
Thoughts about the list. Anytime I'm mentioned with people who are universally respected in the industry, I'm honored. Yeah. Like you, I'm not sure exactly what it measures. I'm not sure if it's influence. I'm not sure if it's visibility. I'm not sure if it's content, and that's okay, by the way.
Yeah, it's Dale's list.
It's the online 18. Yeah. It's Dale's list.
Yeah.
So very honored. I'm almost doubly honored. You and I have been on the list, I think, just about every year, if not every year. This is the first time you and I have been unified. So honestly, kind of honored to be nominated and mentioned with you, even though we both do our very own separate things and have our separate voices, as Dale mentioned. The only thing and like you, I like meeting people and finding people on there maybe I wasn't aware of. The one thing I didn't love was the write-up on us, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I think it was a joke from Dale, but it was a joke that really fell flat. Dale said, despite the horrible theme song, and that's fine. Music is subjective and it's fine. We didn't, that was given to us, written for us and performed for us by Jason Noakes. And so I know it was tongue in cheek. I assume it was tongue in cheek, but it just, when I read that, I was like, ooh, wow, really? Did we have to say that? Because I know it's not Dale's taste in music, and that's okay. I love that theme song because it is very us. It's certainly very me. But I felt bad for Jason Noakes. But overall, I again, being on the list, always an honor. And so you have thoughts on whether Dale should be doing it. I do as well. Go.
Well, here, just to piggyback on that. Love Dale. It was a shitty joke.
I do too.
It was, and if it wasn't a joke, well, piss off. It's our podcast. Yeah. So
any joke that's open for interpretation, not funny generally.
Yeah. So other than that, I actually do, I dig the list. Things I love about the list is that it really does recognize people who are doing good work in the industry. I love that Taylor Borst and her partner in crime there at ASB were number one. I think that makes sense. Taylor is really doing a great job. That's the one I know. I don't know the other person as well.
Taylor.
Yeah, I know. And again, I'm sure she's wonderful. I just don't know her. But Taylor's one who I look to when she creates content, I stop. And that's sort of one of the criteria in my book is like, if people create content, do I stop to take notice of it? And Taylor's one of those people for sure who I do.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
One thing, just real quick. One thing I noticed on the Common SKU one, and maybe you're going to get to this. I don't know how you mentioned Common SKU and their influence without mentioning Bobby Lehue, who's their chief content officer. That just seemed like probably an omission, but I think, Bobby's so responsible for so much of their presence in terms of content creation.
Yeah, it's a tough spot because
there's always 18, someone left off.
Yeah. Although if I'm just, again, this is one of those moments, because one of the things that Dale said was, I've only got 18 spots. And so I'm going to put Bill and Kirby together. Newsflash, you create the damn list. You can create how many you want. If you want it to be 50, it can be 50. It's your list. So that would be my pushback on that. If we're going to give credit that you can make the list whatever you want, you can also make it however many you want. So, but yeah, overall, I think the online 18 is amazing. And I think it's an amazing piece of recognition for people who, and I think this is where it started too, was that people who, not everybody was doing social media when this list came out. Right. And so I think now it's evolved, and I think that's a good evolution. Again, and this part, so I want to be clear, Dale's reached out to us and asked us what we thought about whether or not he should be doing the list. So this isn't us taking pot shots about it. I don't know what you feel about this, but so in answer to the question, my opinion on this, no, No, Dale should not be doing this list anymore. Now, should PPAI? Sure. I think that makes a ton of sense. Their editorial board, and Dale should probably have all or plenty of influence on how that is. And I think that would be a really cool transition for this. But yeah, I think it just feels a little different this year with Dale being in his new position. So my answer to whether or not he should be doing the list is, nah, doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I knew when Dale took the job, and by the way, he's doing a great job. And
I'm excited about all he's doing.
That's one of those, before I say what I'm about to say, I want to say Dale's doing a great job. But I also know when he took the gig, he was kind of like, that's the end of the online 18. I don't know what switch was flipped that led to him doing it this year. I think it's bordering on irresponsible of the face of the trade association for the industry to be the one person who's arbitrarily picking this list. Dale does a great job with it. It's not an easy task. And you know, he got, to Dale's credit, he opened himself up to Kirby and I for this feedback. And we both consider Dale to be a friend. At least I hope he considers us friends still. I do think it's time to switch it to the editorial staff. I think I'd go a step further. I like what ASI does with the Power 50. Tim Andrews is so far removed from that list. He just is like, hands off. Just editorial board, you deal with it. Now, you and I have always said Tim Andrews should be on that list. And I think he should, Tim, I would love to see Tim say, remove that restriction, because that's something I believe he's told the editorial staff. Pick anybody in the industry, but not me.
Yeah.
I think I'd love for someone at if they're going to be doing it at PPAI, which I'm iffy on, to be honest with you. I'm not sure the trade association should be doing this type of a list. That's not hardcore numbers or whatever. I don't know. So I'm not going to really speak to it. I do think at first, though, it needs to transition to the editorial team at PPAI without Dale's influence. I think Dale should have a couple meetings, explain what his brain was. Where was my brain in creating this list? What did it mean to me? Why did I do it? And then hand over the reins. Yeah. That's just, again, my opinion.
Well, and again, it's funny because that was sort of going to be my sort of parting shot on this, is that the idea that the online 18 or whatever number it is that then all of a sudden Dale can be on it and should.
Yeah.
The idea that his influence is growing in his new role. And I think he's doing a great job with it, by the way, from the social media perspective and putting stuff out there. So part of the idea of handing it off to the editorial team is suddenly Dale can and should be on the list. So and again, it's not the end of the world, but you asked. No. So if you ask, that's my take. And so I'm happy to hear contradictory opinions on social media after this comes out. But that's my take on it. And I think,
and maybe there's things we're not thinking of in terms of should Dale be doing it or not. We don't know it all. But again, really honored to be on the list as always. I know you are too. I know everybody who's on the list, whether they're first time, long time, whatever. Like you, I think I've been on that, you and I have been on that list, I think, since the inception. So always an honor in various places. We tumble, we rise, honored to do it. But I think it's time to have other people do that if you're going to continue it. All right, cool. Kirby, let's do a quick one. Well, it's probably not a quick one. I don't know. We don't know much time. So I was thinking about this the other day. When I first got into sales, I remember my manager telling me, salespeople only work an hour to an hour and a half a day. And I said, okay, interesting. Please tell me more. And his theory was the only time a salesperson is truly working is when they're in front of, that can be defined in many different ways, but in front of a qualified buyer who is authorized to make a purchasing decision.
Right.
Meetings, emails, phone conversations, things like that. Doing proposals, not work. Doing research, not sales work. All that stuff. I wanted to get your question. So I have two questions for you. One, do you agree or disagree on that?
Okay.
And then number two, probably more of a back and forth discussion. How would you start working in sales today? How would you, the young Kirby Hasseman getting into this business, how would you start today? So first of all, do you agree or disagree with my old boss's assertion? Salespeople only work an hour to an hour and a half a day.
I agree with that most salespeople do only work an hour and a half a day, but not because of the reason your boss said it. No, so what I would say is it's not the most valuable space. It's funny. It's a conversation I had last week or this week with my daughter.
Oh, really?
Skylar,
okay.
Is that when you are in front of a client, that is the most valuable time that you have. And so you want to focus on that most valuable time as much as you can. I would disagree. I think putting together presentations, that still has value and it still is work, but there's layers, right? In the book, High Trust Selling, Todd Duncan talks about the 80-20 rule and how 80% of your sales come from 20% of your efforts. And so I kind of subscribe to that concept, and that if we want to do better in sales, and it's sort of what your boss is saying, but there's still the 20% value. It's just that has 80% of the value, and we want to try and spend more time there. So it's mine doesn't come off as quickly. But definitely your most, and again, we lived this a week or so ago because clients are seeing us now. Right. And so the next week, Skylar's been slammed this week because we had two face-to-face meetings, and all of these projects come out because we got face-to-face time. So that's a huge, I agree. That's the big driver. So,
I think if you define it the way my old boss did, if that a salesperson is only working an hour to hour and a half a day, if I had a salesperson that was in front of a client, an authorized purchaser, an hour every day, that'd be amazing.
You'd be killing it.
And I agree with you, though. I think it's the way you phrase that is perfect. The most valuable time you have. And if you can make that valuable time an hour to an hour and a half a day in front of clients, that's perfect. It's not because the other stuff, the other work, the proposals, the research, the prospecting, the coming up with campaigns to reach prospects, that is work.
And for me, it's harder work. Being in front of clients is where more hard. I enjoy
the fun.
Yeah.
It's like a football team, right? You do all the practice. The game is when you're in front of the client, and that's the fun part. So how would you start working in sales today? I have thoughts, but
and again, I'm living this space because Skylar's doing this. So this is sort of what I'm. And so, what we've kind of done is put her in an inside sales role so she can learn the industry, know where suppliers, all that stuff. And that's been working. But, I think the advice that I've heard for years is I would find a vertical. I would find a niche and just live there. So I would become members of the association. I would attend conferences. I would, I would live there. Now, that's not to say, and it's a weird differentiation, I think, but sometimes it's like, if business comes to me where, let's say I'm targeting credit unions, let's just say, right? And all of a sudden a plumber calls me and wants a merchandise order. Well, I'm not going to tell him no, especially as I'm beginning, but I'm not going to chase it. And I think that's the big difference is I would spend all of my marketing efforts, all of my marketing time, and I would be writing articles for them. I would live in one space. And that's what I would do if I was starting today.
I wrote 3 things down. The first one, find a niche and be an expert in it. So I can't say it any more eloquently than you just laid it out there. Perfect. Number 2, I would say use promo to sell promo. This is something Sherry Gibson has beaten the drum on for years. I think we're starting to do better as an industry, but we need to do better. So heed the lesson of Charity, use promo to sell promo. And last, I thought of this one. Find partnerships to create value for your clients. Meaning, is there a digital marketing agency that already has an existing customer base? They're doing online things for them. And now if they partner with you, they can actually offer promotional merchandise too. Create those strategic alliances, because then a lot of the work's already done. If you establish trust with, again, that digital marketing agency, you can really open up your client base very, very quickly. And so that's one of the things I would do as well.
Yeah. And so the sell promo to sell promo. I like that. Or the use promo to sell promo. Yeah. One of the things that we talk about is we try to have a self promo every single month. So literally, and again, it creates a budget for you. It creates a reason to go see people, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, I think that is a piece that I hadn't thought of, but is a really good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Do you have a quick fun topic for us in the
back? You know what? I got a couple. You know what? I'm going to go with this one. I was going a different way, but what was the number one? We talked about it last week. What was both of our favorite Super Bowl ad?
Crypto.com, the floating QR code.
It's Coinbase. Yes, absolutely. So
Coinbase, whatever.
Yeah, no, but we both love that, right?
The floating QR.
And so there is some controversy because the CEO of Coinbase essentially came out and said, yeah, we did this all ourselves and no agency could have come up with this. Okay. We came up with it all internally ourselves, to which Martin Agency CEO Kristen Cavallo disagreed. Essentially, I'm going to see if I can find where she wrote it. It's a big, long article, but she essentially said, yeah, an agency could have created it because we did. This was our idea, came from this page on this deck.
Whoa.
Yeah, like came right back at them on Twitter. They've essentially kind of waffled, the Coinbase has waffled a little bit, saying the CEO saying, wow, it was so seamless, the partnership, that we didn't even know we're working with an agency. Well, so Cavallo was, reached out to, and she was like, look, if we want to be respected as an industry, we need clients who respect marketing, respect the role of the agency, and give us seats at the table and let us do our jobs. So my question to you, so to me, this is hilarious. It's hilarious because I think many of us in this space have had this, not necessarily like this kind of opportunity, but where people hire us and say, hey, what should we do? And we say, do this. And they're like, nah, we're not going to do this. And so it's like, do you like her doing this? Do you like her like kind of puffing out the chest and saying, no, that's not how this should roll? Or do you think she or any agency should be like, no, we're going to demure, sort of like the author who actually writes the book and doesn't tell people that they write the book? What's your take on that?
She's now my hero. My guess is now, in partial defense to the CEO of Coinbase, it's probably the fact that he's busy doing other things, or he or she, I don't know if he or she are busy doing other things, may not have known that they received a deck and didn't buy the services and then kind of stole that. Okay. Yeah. So, but still, she's my hero because this is something we've lived here at Brandivate. Without naming any distributor, a client, we had a client who loved the work we did, but wouldn't really apply it the way we were telling them to. And it got very frustrating because they said, wow, we love what you're doing, but then they would never apply it the way we asked them to on social, via emails for their sales reps, so on and so forth. And it got to a point where we ended the relationship because they were frustrated. They weren't getting results. And I'm frustrated, or we're frustrated, because we're giving you all the tools, you're not using them. And the analogy I used with the client when we ended the relationship was, if you work with one of your clients as a promotional products distributor and you joint venture and they buy 5,000 widgets from you, that's the best promotional product, they love the idea, they tell you they're going to distribute it to their target audience, and you're excited, you take their money because your business is to take money, and you deliver the promotional products, the imprint's perfect, everything's right, the packaging's spot on, and they shove it in a closet, and then they start blaming you for its lack of effectiveness. I said, that's what's happening here. That's not the way we work. So she's my hero. You have to advocate for yourself, right? Not everything's going to work all the time, but when something like that does and someone steals your ideas, I just went on this rant yesterday on Twitter because someone said, imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. And I'm like, it is, but there's imitation and inspiration, and that's one thing. That's a lovely thing. Then there's outright thievery, and that's just wrong. Right. When someone is stealing an idea or like that, they're taking money out of a company, possibly impacting jobs, possibly impacting families. I mean, it's just wrong. So good for her stepping up.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
it was, I totally agree. And here's the thing. I mean,
and you knew I was going to tell that story, by the way. You had to know I was going to.
Well, but here's my thing is I think that any of us who've done like really like try to do really creative work. And obviously that's subjective, but the idea that you put yourself out there and said, hey, here's what we're thinking. Here's this, outline the whole campaign.
Yeah. I
talk about all that all the time. I mean, when you do that, someone will ultimately rip you off. But the, my pitch is always like, they're going to show their hand and see who they are. And then you'll know that you won't want to do business with them. That being said, when that happens, we've all wished that we had the stones to come out and totally say it publicly on Twitter. Like that's pretty badass. So kudos to Miss Cavallo. That's amazing.
Well, like I said, it speaks to me very personally. The story I just shared because we talked about it offline. As a de facto advertising agency, it speaks very directly to me. But you know what else speaks directly to me, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
We're 2 months into the year, Kirby. It is time to amp up your sales. Okay. Now, not tomorrow. I've said this before. Not tomorrow, not after breakfast. Now. So you want to amp up your sales. You want to get orders just flowing into you, much like that river, that Nile River that flows through Egypt, baby. You want those sales. I'm trying. You want those orders flowing like that. Head over to promopulse.io/amp. They've got a suite of marketing services that are so easy to use, and bottom line, they result in orders. I mean, that's the bottom line. Totally. I could wax poetic and extend this already long podcast a little bit more, but I'm not going to. But head over to promopulse.io/amp. You're not going to be sorry you did. And as we end this podcast, I invite you, Dale Denham, to enjoy the theme song as we roll off this episode of the Promo UPFront Podcast. Thank you, Jason Noakes. We love it.